Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's tip is a good one. You know, if you watch the channel on a regular basis, you know how much I love hollow belly frogs. They are so weedless and they get some of the best strikes you can imagine. They're a great way to get new people involved in the sport. They're a great way for an experienced fisherman to generate a big bite and to have the excitement of a big blow up. But hollow belly frogs are not the only type of frog to fish. You know, there's a whole nother category which a lot of people refer to as toads. These are not hollow bellies. They're just a solid piece of plastic that are meant to be rigged weedless and retrieved more in a straight manner, which is much more like a buzz bait. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about toads. I want to give you my 3 favorite toads and the way I like to rig them up. Because there's a lot of times a toad will excel over a hollow belly frog. Whether you're fishing open water, very sparse cover, or looking to really determine where the fish are in an area and you want to do that quickly, a toad is a much better way to do that than a hollow belly frog. So that's what we're going to get into today. Before I do, I just want to remind you guys that if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, you might as well go ahead and do it. If you watch the videos on somewhat a regular basis, it's a great way to show your support to the channel. I mean, we have new videos coming out every day. So guys, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, if you're looking to purchase some tackle, please use the affiliate link for my tackle warehouse deal that I put in the description of the video. That's also a great way to show support for the channel. You know, I give out a lot of tips on this channel, and it's not always the easiest thing to go out and produce content, but when I have you guys out there supporting me, that really motivates me to continue to make content for you. So guys, let's talk about some toads. I've got 3 toads that I throw on a regular basis, and I've got a little bit of a different manner in which I throw those toads and where I throw the toads. So the first one that I want to start with is one of my favorites. This is the top toad. This is a much bulkier style toad, 2 big kicker legs. This is made by Stanley Baits. It's a really good toad. I mean, it's just one of those toads that has much more resemblance to a hollow belly because of the profile in it. It's got a big hollow chamber in it. The thing with this bait that is crazy to me is it generates really big strikes. I do not believe you get as many strikes on this bait, but if you're looking for a good quality fish or a kicker fish to your limit, this is one of those ones that'll do it for you. You know, it comes, it doesn't come pre-rigged, but I've got some specific hooks that I like for the top toad. Specifically is the Berkley Fusion 19 weighted frog hook. It's a hook that comes with the pigtail on the top so that you can connect it in, but it's because of the fact that it's a bulkier bait, this is a double toed hook rig, so it sits right in there really well when you go to rig it. But the key here is because of the bulk to it, you want the double hook because it will allow you to get better hookups. If I went with a standard single hook, a weedless hook, I'm not gonna have the same hooking percentages I would have with the Fusion 19 weighted frog hook. But this frog is really a good way to generate strikes. It's one of those ones that a ton of pros are using, but they're keeping on the down low for whatever reason. But I can tell you, going all the way back to a championship event on Lake Ouachita that I fished several years ago, this was one of the main players in that event, and ever since then, like on the James River where I just was, the top toad pops up. It's one of those things that if it's a frog bite, it's really good. I like to throw this though in similar areas as to a hollow belly because of its size, because of its floating ability and its weight. It's much better in thicker cover. So like on the James River where there were a lot of thick pads, you wanted, especially on low tide, those pads would create mats. You wanted a frog that had a little bit more weight to it. And because you were covering expansive areas of pads, you wanted a bait that you could straight retrieve. And that's where the top toad came in. And it was, in a lot of instances, a better selection than your hollow belly frogs. The next 2 frogs I have here are rather similar. This one here is the Buzzin Speed Toad by Berkley. In my opinion, they've got some of the most realistic colors, which is one of the things I love about it. But it's a streamlined frog that's got, you know, good kickers on the end. And the thing here is these kickers, because of the little serrated edges, I don't know if, hopefully you guys can see that, they leave really good bubble trails, and it has a little bit of a different sound when you retrieve it through the water. It's not a huge kicking sound. It's much more like a real small buzzbait sound if you were throwing an 1/8 ounce buzzbait. So I really like it for open water, and I like it for really sparse cover, or if you're fishing some of those areas that are giant flats with like a scattered piece of pondweed that comes up to the surface. This is a great frog for it. The other thing I love doing with it is using it as a trailer on buzzbait. It's really good for that because of the streamlined approach to it, and it's got enough mass in the body where it works really well. On this, I would be throwing a single hook. This is the Fusion 19 swim bait hook. So you've got here just a simple wire single hook on it, but it works great. If you want to add a little bit of weight to it, you can, but you don't need to. And then with that, well, I'll get to that at the end. The last frog that I really like, this is just the Zoom Horny Toad, and one of my preferred colors, the gray ghost color. This to me is a phenomenal frog, again, for throwing across huge flats, straight retrieving back to the boat. This creates more kicking motion than like the Buzzin speed toad, and you can reel it at really fast rates to create good strikes. Now, I will say the one thing about it that I really like, again, is I can use this as a trailer on the buzzbait, which is another way I like to throw it. But it's got a little bit more mass than your Buzzin speed toad. So I like to use this when I've got scattered, topped out weeds. So if I've got, say, some milfoil and I can retrieve it through the milfoil and it's not giant clumps of milfoil, or I'm in a pad field that's a little bit more spread out and I can, you know, I just really want to cast and retrieve through that, that's where the Zoom Horny Toad comes in. It's a little heavier than the Buzzin speed toad, so it's able to get down and create a little bit more motion when it's coming over that emergent cover. Again, I would rig that on the same way on just a weedless swim bait hook. A really good thing. The last tip I'll give with these though, and this is a really big key. I'll get one of these out. These are Gambler hollow points, and this is something that my buddy Chris Grow, who is a frog maniac, told me about years ago. I mean, it's probably been 15, maybe 10 years, I don't know. So the hollow point, which Gambler makes, is a plastic bullet weight with a screw-in lock. And the key here is it doesn't really add any weight, maybe just a little tiny bit. It probably weighs like a 32nd of an ounce. But when you put this on your line, like you would a bullet weight if you're doing a Texas rig, and then screw in the weight into your frog, what this does is it really helps your frog come through cover. That bullet weight just creates a little bit of a nose cone. So when you're reeling it through the cover, that nose cone pushes all of the weed out of the way, and you'll find that your toads really come through the cover a lot better than they would without it. So that's something I always use every time I'm throwing a toad. So guys, these are my favorite toads. You got to keep in mind that they excel in areas that are really expansive when it comes to shallow flats, a lot of cover, and you're trying to find those groups of fish. You know, I'll take something like the Buzzin speed toad. I'll fish these large areas to try to identify the sweet spots. Once I identify the sweet spots, I can either slow down with, say, a hollow belly frog if the cover's that thick, or I'll slow down with a wacky rig or a Texas rig and start picking apart those grass areas. But anytime you're fishing those big shallow flats, the toad is a great way to generate strikes and to identify the areas that you want to slow down in. So don't think that the only frog out there is a hollow belly. If you're leaving out your toads, you're making a mistake. So check these out, guys. Give them a try. They will generate a lot of strikes for you. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Stay tuned. Another video coming out tomorrow.